Minutes.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. For the last 2 years, I was working with cows, and ranchers have a lot of time to think. And I was irrigating hay meadows, practicing a little law, doing the ranch books, paying the bills, and I was wondering, what are they doing in Washington, spending money we don't have? Well, I learned this morning, thanks to my colleagues on the other side of the aisle, that it was President Bush's fault. And the good news is, he's gone. And I'm here, and there's now a problem, because I also learned that Congress authorizes the president to spend money, and this Congress, led by the majority party, wants to authorize this president to spend money we don't have. And going forward, this president's budget will lead to deficit levels never before seen in this nation. These deficits will simply get piled on to the already growing burden of debt that threatens to crush future generations. Just last Friday, we learned from our own Congressional Budget Office that the debt associated with this budget will be $2 trillion higher than the incredible amounts the administration had already suggested in their numbers. Now, in President Bush's 8-year tenure, the debt rose by $4.9 trillion, but President Obama's budget will increase the debt by $5.6 trillion in just 3 years. It will also double the debt held by the public in less than 6 years and nearly triple it in the 10-year span of this budget. This year alone, the president's budget will increase the national debt by $2.7 trillion and require yet another increase in the debt limit. The debt limit just was increased to $12.1 trillion because of the so-called stimulus spending bill that the majority party passed last month. Under this president's budget, debt held by the public will this year reach 56.8% of GDP. It will continue to rise throughout the 10-year period, hitting 82.4% of GDP by 2019. Now, I'll note the last time the debt exceeded 50% of GDP was when I was 2 years old, and that's the middle of the birth of the baby boom generation. The debt was declining steeply at that time. Today, the debt is climbing rapidly, and those 80 million baby boomers are beginning to leave the tax-paying workforce to collect Medicare and Social Security benefits. Families today are facing very difficult economic times. If we act wisely and responsibly, we can turn things around. But if we follow the path that this president's budget lays out, we will be digging a hole so deep we'll all but guarantee a future devoid of prosperity, or even the hope of prosperity, for the next generation of Americans. We can and must do better. I urge my colleagues to reject the devastating course of this budget. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And I